Hi, this is in continuation to our previous video lecture where we were discussing regarding coagulation of colloidal solution, ways to coagulate colloidal solutions, right? And we reached till here, persistent dialysis we were done with. And the third way of coagulating colloidal solutions is either boiling or cooling the colloidal solution. Let's understand it using an example. Boiling is when you boil an egg, right? Egg yolk is a colloidal solution. So when you boil an egg, it becomes solid, or when you fry it, you might have seen that it becomes solidified, right? Soft solid. So what makes a colloidal solution, when you boil a colloidal solution, what makes it to coagulate or to solidify? Eggs, as in case of egg albumin, what happens is these are colloidal particles, right? So when you heat it, when you give it a temperature, when you heat it, these colloidal particles, we know these are in state of constant random motion, right? These are in state of zigzag path, as in Brownian motion, right? So as these are in state of motion, they possess a kinetic energy. Every object, when it is moving, so it possesses a kinetic energy, right? And we know that kinetic energy rises with rise in temperature. So when you increase the temperature, these colloidal particles will start moving vigorously, right? So they will start moving at a high speed, right? So when these colloidal particles, when they start moving at a high speed, when they try to approach one another, right? We discussed before that when two colloidal particles try to approach one another, they will experience a repulsive force, right? Now since they are moving at a high speed, right, they are moving at a high speed, so they will overcome the force of repulsion, right? They will overcome the force of repulsion and hit one another vigorously. So when you increase the temperature, these colloidal particles will strike each other or collide frequently and more vigorously, so vigorously that they will overcome the force of repulsion and they will combine with one another, or they will coalesce to form bigger particles, right? Forming bigger particles, that means they will coagulate. I'll repeat. Since they are moving at a high speed, when you increase the temperature of colloidal solutions, these colloidal particles will start moving at a high speed, right? When they move at a high speed, then they will collide more frequently and more vigorously, right? So vigorously that they will overcome the force of repulsion and will combine or coalesce to form bigger particles, or they will combine to form bigger particles and will eventually precipitate out, or they will coagulate out, right? So this is the case when the temperature is raised, right? Temperature is increased. Now let's look when the temperature is lower down, or how coagulation is caused on cooling, right? The most common example is that of hot milk, where you know that when you keep a glass of hot milk, right, and when it starts cooling, you see that milk fat will start floating on the surface, right? It is due to coagulation, right? Coagulation causes the milk, right, to coagulate. I'm sorry, the cooling causes milk to coagulate, right? And that fat part will start, fat that is the result of coagulation will start floating on the surface, right? Now there is one more thing in coagulation to understand. We have studied about lyophilic colloids and lyophobic colloids, and in the stability of colloids we have understood that lyophilic colloids are more stable compared to lyophobic colloids, right? So I'll just mention it over here. Since lyophilic colloids are more stable, right, that means are more stable, so lyophobic, or let's write it like this, lyophobic colloids are less stable, than lyophilic colloids. Right? When we say lyophobic colloids are less stable, that means they will easily undergo coagulation. Right? So lyophobic colloids will easily undergo coagulation. Lyophobic colloids will easily undergo coagulation. Example is lyophobic colloid gold sol, right, and gelatin. Gelatin sol is your lyophilic colloid. This is gelatin is your lyophilic colloid and gold sol is your lyophobic colloid. So gold sol will easily precipitate out, right, or easily coagulate, whereas gelatin will not easily precipitate. So the way to precipitate these salts is to add an electrolyte. That means if you add electrolyte to gold sol, right, it will easily coagulate compared to gelatin, which is a lyophilic sol, right. So what makes gold sol to easily coagulate or precipitate? Let's understand that. We know that lyophilic sol, here gelatin is a lyophilic sol. Lyophilic sol, they are, lyo means liquid or philic means love, right. So they are liquid loving. Philic means loving. So lyophilic sol are liquid loving, right. In case of gelatin, if you use water, say, so we call it a hydrophilic sol, right. So gelatin is liquid loving, right, or water loving, right. So we know that stability of sol is due to two factors. In case of lyophobic sols, stability is due to charge, right, whereas this is for lyophobic, right, whereas in case of lyophilic sol, there are two factors that are responsible for stability, right. Two factors responsible for the stability of lyophilic sols. First factor is your charge, same as lyophobic. The other is solvation of colloidal particles. Solvation of colloidal particles, right. So when you add electrolyte to a when you add electrolyte to a lyophobic sol, like this is a lyophobic sol, it has a negative charge, right. So when you add an electrolyte, say sodium chloride, right, these sodium ions, as per Hardy's school rule, these sodium ions will neutralize the positive charge on the gold sol particles, right. So once it will neutralize these negative charge, this positive sodium ion from the electrolyte will neutralize the negative charge of gold sol particles. So once it will neutralize the negative charge of gold sol particles, they would be able to coalesce and form bigger particles. That is, they would be able to coagulate or precipitate, right. So here these sodium ions would directly reach these gold sol particles to coagulate them. Now let's check for gelatin, right. Gelatin, if this is gelatin, say it has negative charge, right. Since we said that gelatin is a lyophilic colloid, which means it's liquid loving, right. So it has a layer of liquid around it. Because it is liquid loving, so it can easily interact or mix with liquid. Due to easy mix up with liquid, lyophilic salts have a layer of water around them, right. That is, they are solvated, right. Due to this layer of water, right, it is not easy for these sodium ions to reach the gelatin sol particles, right, because they have to break this water layer or liquid layer in order to reach these gelatin sol particles, right. So when sodium ion, if you add electrolyte sodium chloride to coagulate this starch solution, sol, these sodium ions have to penetrate into this water layer, into this liquid layer, right? So it has an additional covering, right, around it, right, that protects it, right? So lyophilic colloid has additional protection due to solvation of particles. That is why lyophilic colloids are more stable than lyophobic colloids. That is why lyophobic colloids, since they are less stable, so they can be easily coagulated, and we have seen that they don't have any solvent layer like that of lyophilic colloids, right? So we say that lyophobic colloids can be easily coagulated because they are not solvated, because they are not liquid loving, whereas lyophilic colloids are not easily coagulated. Why? Because they have a water layer around them, or they are solvated, right? I hope this is clear to you. Now in the next video lecture we will go through protection of colloids, right? Thanks.